We are all square through 4 games between the Montreal Canadiens and the Vegas Golden Knights. Dave, our coverage here on the fourth period brought to you as always by BitBuy, Canada's #1 cryptocurrency platform. If you're the Montreal Canadiens and you look at Game 4, you were in this series or in the game, Dave, until really in the end when you weren't.
Yeah, exactly. The high danger scoring chances were 18-0 in favor of the Montreal Canadiens going into overtime. I mean, the Canadiens totally flipped the script on the Vegas Golden Knights and were able to not only carry the offense, but they controlled the pace of play throughout the bulk of this game. This was a strong performance by Montreal. And, Vegas, conversely, they went the defensive approach. So they flipped their own script, going from an offensive juggernaut in the Game 3, in the previous game, to a defensive-minded and defensively focused team. It was almost like they tried to do what the Canadiens have been doing in waiting to see if they can capitalize on opportunities. But the Habs were just too strong, and ultimately the bounces ended up going Vegas's way in overtime. But this was a very strong performance by the Habs. But, it was a great performance by Vegas in the previous game, and here we are tied 2-2.
Yeah, you just mentioned it, tied 2-2. It was a demoralizing loss for Montreal because, as you mentioned, they were in it. So if you're the Habs, even though you lost, what do you take away from this game?
That you can control the pace of play. That you can do that. You can create offense, and you can keep Vegas on their toes and put them on their heels as well in certain circumstances. So if you're the Habs going into the next game, going back to Vegas, you keep doing what you're doing. You understand that you can control things defensively as much as you can now control things from an offensive perspective. So you can go both ways. It really depends on what your mood is in certain circumstances throughout the game. Now, it'll certainly be a little bit different going to Vegas because they'll now have the last change, so they'll be able to do some matchups in their favor. But ultimately, from the Canadiens' perspective, yeah, it's a tough loss, but similar situation to what happened to Vegas. You pick yourself up, you move forward.
Yeah, Dave, remember that month we spent in Edmonton where we talked about the Vegas Golden Knights a lot? Well, we're going to do it again, but this time we're going to talk about their goalies again. Because in Edmonton, it was Fleury, it was Leonard, it was Leonard, it was Fleury. We didn't know what was happening. And now, the way that Robin Leonard has played in Game 4, you almost have to go back to him in Game 5, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was great. He did really, really well. He was the second star in this game. He could have easily been the first. He was tremendous for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I mean, this is the luxury / problem of having two number ones, because it almost looks as if you have to go with Leonard now for the next one. It's a tough position. I'm not here to forecast what Pete DeBoer is going to do because I don't think any of us really know. But it's going to be a tough decision for them. But I mean, at this point, you ride the hot hand. But at the end of the day, Irf, it doesn't matter if it's Leonard or Fleury. Vegas has to create offense. They have to be more of an attacking team, something that we've seen throughout the regular season, or else it's not going to matter who's in net if they don't score goals.
Yeah, well, as we head back to Vegas, it's now a best-of-3 series between the two teams, and you can bet that Pete DeBoer is going to keep his cards close to his chest.